I'm Colette, and I'm here today from Which Ways to talk to you about magically charging objects. I'm going to talk about how to do it and what it is. Enjoy. So charging an object is the act of infusing an object with magical purpose or an intention. You can do this either for spell work or for use in ritual or magic. So some examples of that might be charging a candle with abundance, charging your clothes with a glamour, charging a charm for a money spell, charging an incense blend for a specific purpose, or charging a tool permanently or temporarily for a certain use. And the first step is always cleansing, and you can cleanse things by passing it through flame or smoke, washing or immersing it in water if the object allows you to do that. You can wave it in the air or fan it with a fan or your hands to get the energy off if you're good at using your hands for things. And you can also bury it in the earth to let the earth pull the energy off of it and clear it, if that's something you're comfortable doing and that works for the object. You can charge objects and spells yourself or let natural forces do it. And the first thing that is good to do is to start with clarifying your purpose. What is your intention? What do you want to accomplish? And you can do that with a simple one-word intention like blessings or abundance or protection, or it can be a long, carefully crafted sentence that you've put a lot of intention to for a larger style of working. And that is a whole video in and of itself. And once you create that intention, it's good to create some kind of picture or feeling of it in your body if you can, to hold as well as that word. Once you have your intention, you need to get that intention into the object. That's the act of charging itself. And there's several ways that you can do that. I'm going to give a few different examples. I'd encourage you to play with different ones because everybody is different, and what works well for one person might not work well for another. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what your favorite methods of charging are, what you find hard, what you find easy. Many people find it helpful to call a little life force or magical force up from the earth or some other source to run through their bodies with the intention so that they don't use their own vital force. And that's a skill you'll learn over time, or it might work just fine for you without doing that. So the first method I'm going to talk about is a breath technique. And that's a pretty simple technique of holding that intention, that word, that sentence, that picture in your mind, and taking a deep inhale in and then breathing it out and imagining that intention coming out of you with your breath and then going into the object itself. Then imagine your hands just sort of slipping off of it. You can also take an object and hold it in your cupped palms, hold it up to your face, and just gently breathe your intention into the object. You can use your hands also to charge an object, and the way to do that comes with experience. I'm going to go over a few techniques that might help you learn that. If you do body work or hands-on healing, you might already have the ability to do this, and you can just modify it for charging an object. So the first step is to pull some energy into your body, or just simply find your center and breathe into it and let that get nice and warm. And then imagine that nice warm energy moving up through your body, out your shoulders, down your arms, into your hands. and then let your hands just push the energy gently into the object that you want to charm while you're holding that intention. Imagine that intention flowing down your hands and arms into the object. And when you feel done, you can just slip your hands out like gloves and shake your hands off. And some people like to give it a little push or maybe a few pushes to just really be done. Some people then like to use their hand to put a star and a circle around to seal it. And there's some ways to enhance your ability to have your hands be active. And the first way that most people do is by rubbing their hands together. Some people find that that actually disperses the energy, but find out if that works for you. Your hands should be warm and red and feel like energy is flowing freely into them. Again, this could take some time. Don't worry if you don't get it right away. The other technique that I like is to just hold your hands and move them gently closer towards each other until you can feel a more solid energy or a little bit of magnetic energy or a little bit of warmth going back and forth between your hands, and then just hold your hands there for a minute and let your hands get filled up with that warm energy. That's a good technique also to teach your hands how to do charging and magical work. And that's another good technique that you can practice. Another method that uses your hands is to take your non-dominant hand and move it clockwise over the object that you want to charge, holding your intention in mind. Imagine that you're stirring that intention into the object. And you can use your intuition. You can say the intention that you're charging it with out loud if you want. You don't have to. You can also use your intuition to just feel like how fast you need to go, how close you need to get. So for some people might find that as it gets fuller, their hand moves faster and closer to the object. Other people might feel exactly the opposite, that as they get closer to being done, their hand slows down until it gradually just comes to rest, and you just let it go into the object. And then again, pull your hands back, shake them off. You can also use natural forces to charge your object. For example, you could use the sun, which has the power of expansion, warmth, healing, life-giving force, growth, and just place your object out at the peak of the day on a nice, sunny, clear day. You could also put something out under a moon phase, and this is very common among witches to do this, and each moon phase has a slightly different energy that would then be infused into the object that you are charging. And I did one example of this. I made a video about full moon water where I infused water with the energy of the full moon, but you can infuse any tool with the power of the full moon if you want. You can also ask beings or deity to charge your tools for you. So if you work a lot with love, you might have a whole set of tools that you use around that if you're dedicated to a deity of love, and you could certainly ask them to help you charge your objects or tools. Personally, I would only do that if I was going to probably permanently turn those objects or tools into things that I used when I worked with that deity. But that's up to you and the agreements that you have with the particular deities or beings that you're working with. Also, again, I feel like you should have a reciprocal relationship with offerings, honoring, and recognition when you work with beings and deity. But everyone does things differently. If you are using household objects for magic, you might want to charge them temporarily and then remove the charge when you're done working that piece of magic. And it's a little bit harder to do that than charging sometimes for some people, but you just do that by doing any form of clearing that I talked about earlier. I'd love to hear how this goes for you in the comments section. I really like seeing comments and questions. And if you are inclined and you like my content, you might want to check out my Patreon page where I offer a bit more. As always, it helps me continue to make these videos if you like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Stay safe and be well.